Hello, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Meryl Nass, for hosting this fantastic event. And thank you to all the speakers. My name is Zen Honeycutt, and I am the founding executive director of Moms Across America and the Neighborhood Food Network, which is what I'm going to be focusing on today, and community food solutions, because that's what this is all about. Thanks for being with us on the Attack on Food Symposium. Okay, so we all know that the current food supply, to have a little reality check here, is toxic, and it's government sanctioned poison that's in our food supply right now. They know it's there, they're allowing it. This food supply is making us sterile. It's an increasingly short supply. We're dependent on distant and foreign sources just to feed American people here. And it's not regulated for safety. GMO manufacturers are able to regulate themselves, and pesticides are certainly not being regulated accordingly. Prices are going up, and the government controls distribution, for example, the baby food debacle. Genetically modified organisms are also not labeled in the United States. Not only are they not being regulated, they're not labeled. They're in about 85% of packaged foods in the United States. And if you're not eating organic, you are definitely eating genetically modified foods, which can cause inflammation, all kinds of gut issues. I'm sure everybody knows all about GMOs by now. And of course, most GMOs, 80% of them actually, are engineered to withstand Roundup or glyphosate. We've heard a lot about that today. And glyphosate does not wash, dry, or cook off. It is in the majority of GMO foods and also sprayed as a drying agent on non-GMO foods as well. So Moms Across America, we did some testing. We wanted to find out what was going on in school lunches. And we tested for 43 school lunch samples for glyphosate, pesticides, veterinary drugs, hormones, heavy metals, and nutrients in school lunches. And the results were abysmal, folks. Horrible. 95.3% of the school lunches contain carcinogenic, endocrine disrupting, and liver disease causing glyphosate. 74% of the samples contained at least one of 29 different harmful pesticides. And those pesticides have synergistic effects, folks, right? We don't know what they are all doing together, and nobody is testing for the synergistic effects of all of these different pesticides on our children, one of the most vulnerable populations. There were 4 veterinary drugs and hormones that were found in 3 school lunch samples at levels up to 130, which is very high parts per billion. These are drugs also that cause lactation and can affect the reproductive systems and hormones of our children. 100% of the school lunch samples contained heavy metals at levels up to 602,093 times higher than what the EPA allows in drinking water. And these heavy metals are neurotoxic, folks, and can cause long-lasting, even lifelong damage. And of course, with all of these agrochemicals going on in our food supply, the majority of the samples were abysmally low in nutrients. And this is tragic because our children's brains do not operate properly when they don't get proper nutrition. So I'm just sharing this with you because you've got to know how toxic the food supply is and how important it is for communities to take action. And we're so grateful for all of the children who got the school lunch samples and the parents who helped mail them in to expose what was going on in the school lunch sample and in our food supply. So what's the solution, right? We've got to start wondering for ourselves, you for yourself, me for myself, what are our particular and unique attributes that we have where we can say, I'm the one that's going to take on the food supply and transform the food supply. That's what I did about 11 years ago when I was working on the Prop 37 labeling initiative. There was a woman in the front of the room who was leading all of the volunteers, and I was sitting in the back of the room. And I just thought about it for a second. Wait, why am I sitting at the back of the room? Nothing wrong with that. I did pass out flyers, but I wasn't a leader. So I asked myself, what if I was a leader? What if I took on being saying I'm the one that's going to transform the food supply, not by myself. What I meant by that was just, I'm not going to wait for Jeffrey Smith or Robin O'Brien to do it, right? So what's the solution? So I invite you to ask yourself now, what can you do to transform the food supply? Well, number one, you can grow, buy, and eat organic. Organically grown, real organic project, regenerative organic, biodynamic, USDA organic. These are all fairly good labels. The best one is growing yourself. But besides that is organically grown locally near you. So if you have a farmer that can look you in the eye and say, I do not use glyphosate and toxic chemicals, for me, that's okay, right? It doesn't have to be USDA organic. Because some USDA organic has been contaminated, I really do prefer some of the other labels if you can find them. And that the consumer actions have made a difference. We are transforming America by buying organic. I would suggest USDA organic and non-GMO verified together. Every time when you're in the grocery store, your dollar is a vote for healthier food that is not poisoning us, right? So the organic market is growing 3 times faster. Non-GMO project verified labels have exceeded over 40 billion. That's in 2021. But non-GMO alone is not enough, because non-GMO does not mean no glyphosate or other toxic pesticide. They only test for GMOs, and that only means 0.9% or less of the product contains GMO ingredients. And USDA organic doesn't allow GMOs or toxic pesticides. However, they don't test for them. There's very little testing done. So together is really the best you're going to get in a grocery store if you're not buying, growing it yourself or purchasing from a local farmer's market. Now, 82% of US households, this is a stat from Organic Trade Association in 2018, now buy some organic food regularly. So we are making a difference. And organic farmers are making more money when they grow organic. And it's more profitable for them versus conventional. And consumers are spending less money on healthcare when they switch to organic. And I personally know that from my household. Most of my kids I have three children, and 2 out of 3 have not been to a doctor in over 5 years for any kind of sickness or anything like that. One has gone to a doctor for a syndrome that he has, but it's not related to his gut. So we have saved tens of thousands of dollars every year by eating organic. All right. So consumer actions are effective, but the government is taking way too long with their policy to follow up with policies that will protect us. So it's time to take matters into our own hands, folks. And so what we propose is creating a parallel food system with the Neighborhood Food Network. I'm so excited about this. This is our new initiative for Moms Across America, but it is now its own separate nonprofit. And the Neighborhood Food Network is based on the Neighborhood Crime Watch program. That's why you see the little eye down here in the corner. The Neighborhood Crime Watch program is when you ask 50% of a representative from at least 50% of the households to come together. The policemen come out and they train you and your neighbors about how to prevent crime. Well, we propose that you invite hopefully 50% or some of your neighbors anyway to get together maybe on a Saturday morning for bagels and coffee or fruit. And you come together and you talk about growing your own food. So we invite you to inspire and excite your neighbors to grow food together on your street, on your side, front yard, your backyard, side yards, rooftops, the walls on the side of the house, balconies, wherever. And we support you in that with flyers and all kinds of planning materials. So through these in-person gatherings, you can invite, inspire, and excite your neighbors to grow food locally, creating national food security one street at a time. And what we have are to offer you through the Neighborhood Food Network are Monday night free coaching calls and Q&As with experts, resources for planning, planting, and pest control and preserving. So for those of you who want to learn how to do fermenting or how to put up garlic or potatoes, things like that, things that your grandmothers did. Your grandmothers and your grandfathers did these things. They had these skills, but somewhere along the line, we forgot about them. So we're inviting you to remember the skills that your great-grandparents had and to provide them and to pass them down to your families and support having local meetings on your street. And we support we have seasonal support with flyers, data, and actions. For instance, we have planning on our website, all kinds of great planning sites, some of our favorite newsletters to support growing food like Morning Chores and the Creative Vegetable Gardener, Megan is one of our advisors. And we have all kinds of charts like how much space do I need to grow food, and Harvest Tracker, how much money am I saving by growing food? You can track all of that. And folks, it's a lot of money. If you have not bought, some organic broccoli lately or organic a pepper or things like that, holy mackerel, you will save so much money when you grow your own food. You're going to be able to take your family for a weekend vacation with that money. So also, we have a monthly planting reminder by zone. This is my favorite. I don't think any other website out there has this. You can click on your garden zone, and we have the means to find out also what your garden zone is. And then you click on your garden zone, and then you click on either Google Calendar or Outlook. And on the first day of every month, what will come up will be a little a reminder, an event reminder of what you need to be doing that month, what seeds you need to starting in pots in your house, or what seeds you can plant outside in the ground. And so there's no excuse not to know what you need to do for that month to have a successful garden. And this is for also for spring gardens and for fall gardens. All right. The benefits of the Neighborhood Food Network are creating community, bridging the political divide with food. We can absolutely strengthen our democracy and our country through growing food. You also are going to improve your health because you and your neighbors are going to be avoiding GMOs and glyphosate that we just talked about, and all kinds of toxic chemicals, which are not being regulated in our current food system and are wreaking havoc on our health. You can also get prepared. You and your neighbors will have access to food in times of crisis or celebration. And that means reduced violence because it only takes 9 missed meals, folks, for a person to resort to violence to feed their family. And as a mom, I would probably say 5, right? So with this program enacted on your street, just by getting together with your neighbors, you will become partners instead of, potential enemies. And in a time of crisis, you're going to be working together instead of being a threat to each other. And that's what we need right now. So we also encourage you to enact a neighborhood food network because you'll be creating financial resilience. And we believe that your survival should not be dependent on the decisions made on Wall Street, but on the decisions made on your street. So it's time to get street fed. That's what we call it. And join and invest in the Neighborhood Food Network. We've had some great results. We've at Plateau Neighborhood Food Network had 46 members in the very beginning. Now they're up to 96 members. They are sharing food and skills, learning, canning, preserving new recipes, meeting new neighbors, having a new sense of excitement and connection. It's just really, really fun. And you can also make it to be adopt a food bank program. If you don't want to, just grow food just to share amongst each other, you could actually adopt a food bank. And so we're looking for funders to help with signs like this that you can put up on your street. Now, the US government, folks, is also getting in on this. They're starting to realize that people want to have access to local food. So they've started the People's Garden program, the USDA program. However, they want you to register your community garden with the US government. And I would ask you to think about whether or not you want your community garden registered with the US government. I would prefer community supported agriculture. Community supported agriculture, they're called CSAs. This is another thing that you can do in your community. If you're not going to grow your own food, you can support your local farmers. And that's through a community supported agriculture system. The local farmers get paid up front and they have an opportunity to get to know people who want to eat the food that they grow. And you get to eat ultra fresh food, local food, which is going to have more nutrients to fight cancer and all kinds of other illnesses, give you more nutrients to help support your brain and your body growth. And you'll get exposed to new vegetables and new ways of cooking. I got introduced to leeks through my local CSA. And now that's my son's favorite soup is potato leek soup. You also get to know the farm and get to visit the farm at least once a season. And you find out that kids favor food that's fresh from the farm and will eat more fruits and vegetables. And you can develop a relationship with that farmer and maybe even learn more about how the food is grown or how you can grow food yourself. So we suggest going to Local Harvest to find a local community supported agriculture CSA in your area. There's also a bevy of new apps out there. I love this app, Farmish app. It's created by this mom who just was frustrated because she couldn't, I think it was sell her eggs or something like that in her local area. So she made this app and she's got hundreds of thousands of followers. She's on TikTok, and she's just an adorable person. So if you want to find local grown eggs or all kinds of other fruits or vegetables or produce, please check out Farmish app. You can also go to farmmatch.com, and this is run by Max Kane, and you just type in your local area. If you want to find food or if you want to become an affiliate or if you want to sell food, you can get connected with local farmers in your area. Weston A. Price Foundation is also an organization that I highly recommend because the Weston A. Price Foundation chapters source local foods. They're very supportive of local meat producers. They call it a kill share in Australia or New Zealand, where you can actually share in half a cow or half a pig, that type of thing, and fill up your freezer with locally grown, pasture raised, organically raised beef or pork or chicken. it from a local farmer, which is really the only type of meat that I would suggest eating if you are going to eat meat. So they also have a wonderful amount of nutritional information. So I invite you to join a Weston A. Price Foundation chapter today. And if you want to learn how to grow your own food, a wonderful opportunity is to join the Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. It's called WOOF, and be a woofer. I did this. That's my Moms Across America mobile right there. I did this with my family. We stayed at these wonderful farms in Vermont and Connecticut and Utah, all across the country. And we learned to do things like harvest 2,000 cloves of garlic, bulbs of garlic, wash them and hang them in one day, cut up dried garlic, and harvest kale and dehydrate kale for smoothies and protein bars and things like that. You can have wonderful, enriching, basically vacations. You get to stay on these farms either with an RV or some people house you, and you farm for about 4 hours a day. You work in the fields and they feed you breakfast and sometimes dinner. And you can have a dip in this pond or the stream is what we did, and just have a fantastic time on the farm. So I urge you to get out and get involved, get to know your local farmers, and check out all of these resources that I've provided. These are community solutions that you can start right now in your neighborhood. Join and start a neighborhood food network. Check out local harvest. Go to Get Farmish and Farm Match. Join your local Weston A. Price Foundation. Become a woofer, and also check out our movie Communities Rising on YouTube. That's where we mentioned the woofer farms and many other opportunities. So thank you very much. If you want to contact me, go to neighborhoodfoodnetwork.com or contact me at Zen at Moms Across America. I really appreciated being with all of you today and all of the wonderful speakers. Thank you so much.